Hey friend, this is episode number 542 of the And So podcast with Taylor Bradford. Let's get to it. Boss Girl Creative presents And So with Taylor Bradford, business and life musings from a successful serial entrepreneur. Each week, you will hear Taylor spill the tea on all things business, life, relationships, health, and everything in between. But don't worry, each week also includes a business nugget that will help you stay on course. And now a throwback to 3-year-old Taylor who inspired all of this.
And so.
Need some coaching energy but don't want to book a call, prep a doc, or schedule anything? The Clarity Shot is your low-stakes way to get my eyes and brain on your spiral. One question, one voice note reply, one grounded next step. No fluff, just clarity. Go grab it at bossgirlcreative.com/shot to get started. Hello, beautiful friend. Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Bradford. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, let's dive into the topics. I got a lot to say. Every week I say that, but really, I have a lot to say, so let's get started. The red iron is still going on, still being erected for my house build. They've had some issues lately, like they put up 2 big framing pieces or some uprights that are right in the middle of windows. And I'm like, you can clearly see there's a window there. Why did we put a footer there? Like, for real. So that's still ongoing. And my builder basically said, I think this is going to be the last house I build. He is getting old. I believe he's in his mid to late 80s. So yeah, I feel it. Like, yeah, this is probably a lot. It's not just a metal building. If it were just a metal building, it probably wouldn't be so bad, but it's not just a metal building. So, oh my goodness. I sent my window adjustments over to my manufacturer before I actually order the windows. So I'm waiting on updates for that. And then I do need to go get my doors ordered. I'm hoping to do that in the next day or 2. And then we had wicked storms this weekend. We lost another big tree limb on one of our trees. And I'm grateful it fell where it did because I had big equipment really close by that could have been really bad. And then I loaded out at an event. So we put, I think it was 7 farm tables, 84 chairs for an event locally, and under tents. And first time that I left things out, knowing storms were coming, even though there were tents. And I did so good with keeping my anxiety levels down over my things being outside, even though they were covered with tent walls and all of that. And so we went to pick up on Saturday afternoon, tried to get there before the next round of rains and storms came through. We're not able to due to scheduling of the actual event. And anyways, we loaded out in the pouring rain. So that was not pleasant, but we got it done. And yeah, so I have one more event booked for the year. There might be other things come my way because sometimes that happens this time of year, last minute parties and such. But as of right now, I have one more this Saturday and I'm looking forward to some downtime for Sugar Creek, even though I kind of have felt this whole year has been a downtime for Sugar Creek. It's been a really weird year. But like knowing that I don't have anything on the schedule until next year, that's really nice, actually. It's really nice. In the garden, I do feel the slowdown coming. I am curious to see what happens to everything that is still growing right now. We do have our first actual cold front coming in, and it will put us into the high 40s, low 50s for the foreseeable future. I'm really looking forward to that. And But it does mean now we're on the slow down side of the garden. So my broccoli is growing. It will be completely okay. My tomatoes should be okay until we hit our first frost, which is not happening this particular cool front. But I'm just curious to see what is going to happen. I think my melons should be done. And I'm really just looking forward to getting a reset and figuring out what I plan on doing for 2026. And yeah, so that's the garden. It may be too late for me to put in carrots because I've waited for so long, but I'm going to do it anyway and see what happens. Carrots should be okay through the winter. It just kind of depends on how our winter goes. I really don't want to play the frost cloth game this upcoming winter season. I want to just grow what will do okay in frost, and because it's just a pain in the butt to have to put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off. So it would be nice to have like a high tunnel where I could grow some of these things and not worry about it, but I'm not there. So I'm just going to see what happens, and I'm not going to stress about it. So I end up having to DNR a book. I just couldn't get into it. Maybe if I'd read it and not listened to it, but I just really couldn't get into it. The Stranger by Harlan Coben, which he has a new book out with Reese Witherspoon. I'm sure it's going to be a good book. But I had to DNR The Stranger by Harlan Coben. I just couldn't get into it. And there's too many books that I do want to read to be wasting time on one I don't want to read. I did finish book 5 of the Thursday Murder Club, The Impossible Fortune. Richard Osman is the writer, 5 stars. I absolutely love that series. And I did also finish Listening to the Law by Amy Coney Barrett, current Supreme Court Justice. I gave it 3-star. We read it in one of my book clubs, and I enjoyed the first half. I did not enjoy the second half. It has nothing to do with her personally. I just didn't enjoy what was in the book. So, yep, 3 stars. All right, moving on to my course. So I am waiting on edits to be made to the first asset for me to review. I've already reviewed the initial send. It looks fantastic, but there are some structural changes that need to be made. And I think part of it is just a lack of understanding between the English language and her native language, even though she does speak English, understanding kind of our jargon. So like when I say I want a 3x3 or a 4x3 or a 2x4, like we know what that means, like columns versus rows, but she did not. She actually thought that meant inches, 3 inches by 3 inches space on a page. And so waiting on some edits to be made. I have created the first 3 modules slides for the actual slideshow part of the course, and I only have 2 more modules to make, which is fantastic. So I'm going to finish those module slides, and then I'm going to provide info needed to build out the second course asset, and then work on my first order bump asset. So we're making moves. It feels slow like molasses right now, but we're making moves. All right, let's get into this week's search bar confessions. So here's what I Googled since last week. How to safe boot my MacBook Pro laptop. I swear we have all of these MacBooks that I've just failed or just didn't realize they weren't auto updating. And it's taken me forever to get them to recognize that there's a new iOS, even though we're nowhere near what the actual current iOS system is. So I'm trying to work through getting them to realize there's a new iOS and then working them through the different updates to get them to the latest. And I'm having trouble with one of my laptops. So then I also wanted to know how to mirror that MacBook Pro to a monitor so I could gain access, because for whatever reason, the screen is staying blank or black, and that's frustrating. But I can connect a monitor to it and I can see it. So it's very wild. I'm hoping an update will fix it. I also Googled early voting dates and location because we have a big voting day coming up next Tuesday, and I wanted to make sure to vote because we have some pretty big school bonds on the docket that I don't want to move forward, so I wanted to vote no for them. And then I took over, I've said this previously, but I took back the property management of my rental property. And so I have one available right now. And I was like, what was the rental application software I was using? So I had to go Google for that. And then we have been watching Cheers on Amazon Prime through the Paramount Network. And I wanted to know, what are they actually drinking? Because it's a bar and they're actively drinking beer a lot. And it's kind of like a new beer, so it's non-alcoholic, but they drink it warm with salt. I cannot imagine them being able to do this for as many seasons as they did. But that is what they are drinking on Cheers. I also randomly saw in my Facebook feed that Selena Gomez had a kidney transplant, and I knew nothing about it, even though it's none of my business, so I had to go Google for that. And then also, we saw a preview for the new Now You See Me movie and wanted to know when its release date is. It's early or mid-November, like November 11th or November 16th. The things that I've been Googling on release dates recently is in the mid-Novembers. So I'm confused now because I've looked up too many things that are launching in early to mid-November. So it's somewhere in there if you're curious. And then we saw a walking stick bug when we were leaving our shop the other night. And I was like, oh, is that a friend or a foe? And what do you eat? So I went to Google. And in case you were curious, they eat leaves. So those are my search bar confessions for the week. Now let's get into this week's Business Nugget. Building something new and still doing everything else. That's what we're talking about. So let's talk about what it actually feels like to be building something new, my course, while still doing everything else, because that's where I am. And honestly, it's not as exciting as it sounds. It's really a little bit on the overwhelming side because there is so much work that goes into doing something like this. And I'm in the thick of it. Which, yes, is something I am deeply proud of because I finally have figured out something that makes sense for me to do for the House of Sugar Creek. It's aligned, it's needed, but also I feel like I'm just staring at a big list of checkboxes that I have not been able to check mark off. There's nothing shiny about this part. There's no major announcement. There's no fancy launch funnel. It's just me still doing everything else and slowly chipping away at that checkbox list. And that's what I want to name today. That weird middle season where you are building, but it doesn't look like much yet. And honestly, it kind of feels like it should feel more exciting than it does, but there's some dread involved. But this is what building something real actually looks like sometimes. It's not an inspiration burst season. It's not downloads from the universe. It's just back-end work. It's systems and Google Docs and like being online at the same time that someone in Pakistan is. You know, the timing of having conversations with somebody building out your course assets. And the constant quiet hum of, okay, what's the next thing I need to do? And it's staring me in the face because it's a bunch of things that I have written out with check boxes that I haven't check marked off. And here's where it gets really fun. And by fun, I mean totally overwhelming. Because when you decide to build something like a course, you think, cool, I'll just record some videos and call it a day. But the reality, it's a rabbit hole of tasks that take all kinds of time, and none of them are small tasks, unless you just want to add those small things to check them off your list. And sometimes I feel that, so if you do that, I am going to look the other way. You've got the course outline, then you need the slides, then you realize you need to create supporting assets, your workbooks, your checklists, your visuals, and oh right, you need talking points. Maybe a full script if you need help on that. Depending on how you record, maybe you need both. Then it hits you. You also need a landing page, a checkout page, an order bump option, an upsell, a downsell, because apparently that's what we do now. And if we want to have an average order of X amount of dollars, the automation to deliver it, a way to tag buyers properly, and don't forget the course hub itself, where everything is going to live. You guys, it's not just record a course. It's build a whole freaking ecosystem. And really, it is one of those seasons that feels like it should feel more exciting because you are creating something new. You are moving towards offering something new. But instead of energy, it's the checkboxes. So freaking many checkboxes, and they don't magically move themselves. Here's the truth. Building a course sounds simple until you actually start building it. Because again, first, there's the course outline, making sure the order makes sense, making sure you're not overwhelming people, figuring out how much is too much or not enough. Then you've got to create the slides, which sounds doable until you open Canva and immediately forget what fonts you were using, or whether you saved the graphic in the right folder, or you're using the right colors. So you're constantly going back to the course Bible you created to keep yourself on track, but also anybody else that you help or you hire to help you design the course assets. And then there's your talking points or your script, depending on how you like to record. Are you off the cuff? Are you reading? Do you need bullet points? Or do you need a full transcript? And then do you need course assets, downloadables, workbooks, diagrams, swipe files? You need a landing page, obviously, but then what's your hook? What's your copy? What does your CTA button say? Then we need a checkout page. This has to be integrated, which means your payment processor has to be connected, which means your product has to be created somewhere. And out of all of the things that you could create it on, which one do you choose? Which tech do you create? And then there's the order bump or the upsell or the downsell or all three. If you even have the mental energy to think that far, which I currently do not, even though that's next on my own to-do list, I do thankfully have what they are going to be. I just don't have them built out yet. And just when you think you're ready, oh wait, you haven't written your email automation that goes with somebody ordering something. And then if they don't order bump like you wanted them to, how to add that into your automation to get them to. So then it's your welcome sequence, your delivery email, your reminder emails, and don't forget the course hub itself, the place where the course actually lives. So now we're talking about like Thinkific or Kajabi or ThriveCart Learn or Podia or Teachable, or which one do you pick? And suddenly you're in platform research mode instead of creation mode and nothing's even launched yet. Are you still with me? Because this is where I'm at. And the kicker. You still have to do your normal stuff. Client work, admin work, podcast production, Instagram content, checking your DMs, and your actual life. So now instead of being excited about this amazing new thing you're creating, you're overwhelmed, you're second guessing, and you're questioning whether this was a good idea, and you haven't even hit publish yet. I know this is a good idea. Side note, I do know, but this is where I'm at. And this is the part that we're not talking about. We talk about launching a course. You can see that all over Google and Pinterest and Instagram and social media. But we don't talk about building the course. The part where it's not a funnel, not a launch, not a sales strategy, just back-end chaos and a bunch of decisions you didn't know you had to make. And listen, I love this course. This course is so needed because nobody's talking about how to take care of pests in your garden, the good guys and the bad guys, so that you can have a thriving garden. I am passionate about it. It's deeply aligned with what I've built inside and around the House of Sugar Creek. But that doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean I'm magically motivated. It doesn't mean I figured out how to prioritize it perfectly inside my current schedule, which is still incredibly busy with roofing. It just means I'm in the thick of it, still showing up, still building, still doing all the invisible work it takes to make something real. So if you're there too, in the messy middle of building something that's not done yet, not clear yet, not working smoothly yet, just know this. You're not behind. You're not scattered. You're not failing at productivity. You're just mid-build. And that middle, it's a real part of the process. Even when it doesn't feel exciting, even when it feels like you're moving an inch at a time, even when your to-do list looks like a tech stack threw up on your Trello board or your Google Doc. I just wanted to make a course. That was the original vision. But right now, I'm knee-deep in asset creation, course slide creation, working on the next things that my designer needs for asset number 2 in the course, like that's where I'm at. And it's very easy to forget that this is still progress, that this is what it looks like to build something real from scratch. That slow progress isn't failure, it's foundation. So here's your permission slip, if you need one today. You can love your idea and still feel overwhelmed by it. You can believe in your offer and still get bogged down in tech. You can be a brilliant strategist and still need a nap. None of that disqualifies you. It qualifies you because you're building something real, not just dreaming about it. And yeah, I'm still in it. The course isn't done. The page isn't live. I don't have all the pieces figured out yet. I'm building bit by bit inside a business that hasn't stopped with a brain that's juggling more than one thing. And if that's you too, welcome to the middle. It's not flashy, but it's real and it counts. If you are in the middle of a constant spiral, a launch wobble, or an identity crisis about your offer, I want you to stop. Send me your question. The Clarity Shot gives you one clear, compassionate voice memo reply from me with a direction you can trust. Less noise, more next steps. Grab it at bossgirlcreative.com/shot to take action. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Until next time.
And flow. And talk. Good girl.
And like my 3-year-old self said, that is all for this week. Friendly reminder to rate and review my show wherever you are listening. And last but not least, I'd love to hear from you. Leave me an audio message at bossgirlcreative.com/speak. I would love to hear your takeaways, ideas for upcoming episode topics, and your feedback. Thank you again for listening to this week's episode. And until next time, I hope you have a great rest of this one.